Hello, everybody. Ryan here, Notes and Numbers, reporting back on another one of our little teacher seminars. So this is the Technique Tidbits number 3. And we talked about a bunch of stuff as per usual, but probably the most interesting thing to me, or the thing that's been on my mind the most, has been how do you get multiple angles in a lesson on Zoom, at least. And there are a few different ways that we can take it on, and there are a few different tools that come into play in the doing of it. And the first and most basic one that we should talk about is Gimbals. And I've actually talked about them a little bit in an article for the Clarion, the Washington State Music Teachers Association publication, and I'll link to that in the description below. But a gimbal is basically a general term for something that clamps onto a camera or a device that you can then set up somewhere else. And there are a few different kinds. There are sort of standalone. There are those that clamp onto like a shelf or a chair or something like that, or even your piano if you're brave. And then other than that, there are those that attach to a mic stand, either around the staff of it or on like a boom. And just to give you some visual illustrations of that, I've got a couple pictures that I have from a presentation that I had done in the past, which I will show you here. So if we go in and look at, let's say, for instance, this is kind of all of them at once. But you can see we have, there we go. So this guy right here is what I use for my sort of overhead. And you can actually just kind of lift it up and down as you like. You can see it's articulated, clamped onto my shelf. And it's great if I just want that sort of overhand, I want them to be looking down and seeing what's going on. If I pull it down, I can right here. So I can give them a close-up. I can also give them the whole view. So that one's really useful. This white one over here I use for more of like a sort of left-hand side view. So you can actually, if I click through here, maybe, almost. I may have to stop sharing screen here. So here, I'll show you what view I get from it. So that's the view I get from that little white one on the left side. And that's, again, kind of nice for illustrating hand position stuff or whatever it might be that you want to. If I go ahead and switch back over to here, to give you one more example of the kinds of gimbals that I was talking about. Let me share my screen real quick here. And we'll go visit this again. And so this would be like a mic stand one that's just actually attached to a mic stand. And I use that sometimes for, in previous videos, you've seen a side view on my right side that kind of shows my whole body sitting at the piano. But you can also get ones that attach to a mic boom and then have that lower in and use that as an overhead if you don't have something handy to clamp it onto right next to you. So, having gone over that, and gimbals, again, G-I-M-B-A-L-S is the general term. Having gone over that, we get into the idea of how do you actually get these things connected. And so the most basic way to do it is Zoom actually allows you to have, essentially I think it's a laptop, as of December 3rd, 2020 anyway, it's a laptop, a device like a phone, and then a tablet, all at once logged in on the same account. So actually right now, to give an example of that, I usually use an iPad with not connected to audio, not connected to video, just here so I can kind of watch what's going on, because otherwise my setup's all to my left side here because I run it on a computer. But they're both logged in at once, and if I turn on the video, then all of a sudden you see two videos. They're the same angle, but here I can show you the one looking at the other. Before it crashes, get that out of there. And so that is probably the easiest way to get multiple angles. Just have multiple things logged in. What I didn't end up loving about it, I'm going to stop that second video, is I felt like it made the screen on my student side sort of too small for the relevant stuff. And rather than wanting to balance spotlighting constantly, which we'll visit in a sec here, I wanted to instead have them all on just one screen like I have here, where I can flip through the different pictures. I have a third one that's not connected at the moment. But that way they see it at full size. So to do it that way, there are sort of two methods. One of them is going to rely on just having another webcam plugged in. And so what I'm using is just a hotkey. It's Alt-N. But that will send you through whatever cameras you have hooked up. We had somebody in the meeting today that wanted to have a situation where they had both one angle and another little in the corner showing them basically a hand angle and then a face angle. And they wanted to do that, but with that second webcam plugged in. So you can do it, it gets a little tricky. So basically, if we go back into share screen, and I'm going to share first and then show you what I'm doing in here. So now that you can see, if we go over to advanced, you can see it actually lets you share the content from a second camera. So if I just do that, nothing else, and click on it, we can see that it shares this. And then in theory, let's see here if I can get, yeah. So in theory, you actually still see me in the upper right-hand corner. Now the problem is, and it's actually looking pretty all right here, you know, on my left side, but it looks pretty choppy if I look ahead of me, is that it looks pretty choppy. And so you can actually adjust that if I stop sharing here. If I go back in and do the same thing, just share generally so you can see, nope, not this one. If I share generally so you can see, just sharing my screen. And if I go back here and I do that same thing, clicks content from second camera, now if I optimize it for video clip, then it should work pretty much just fine. You see it more or less at speed. There's a little bit of a lag there, but actually that's pretty good. The problem is by optimizing it for this, it actually gets rid of the little, at least on my side, little thumbnail of me or my face in the upper right. So that, depending on what your goal is, could be a problem. If you do end up going that route, just so you know kind of how to go about sharing the things, when we share this from the second camera, oh, and I should stop the optimizing for video so you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll stop the share computer sound as well. But if I share from this other camera, on the one hand, Control or Alt-N, that hotkey I was talking about earlier to change cameras, you'll notice it just changes the one, well, it should anyway. Son of a gun. There we are. So it just changes the camera that's in that little thumbnail in the corner. So that's our Alt-N. If you want to change the big picture, there's this button in the upper right here, or upper left rather, that says switch camera. So if you click that, that will run now the screen you're sharing through your different webcams. So hopefully that is clear. And if you don't, we're going to move on to the sort of final way of doing this. If you don't have an extra webcam that you can just plug into your computer, there are actually ways you can take advantage of your phone and or devices you have laying around. And so if you're working with Windows on a PC, the name of that program, you may have seen it pop up a couple times, is iVcam, little I, big V, C-A-M. It is a pay service just on Windows. You pay one time. They offer it through the App Store on the device side or through the App Store on your computer side. Go for the computer first. It will apply to all of them. I went for the app first. I had to buy both of them. Kind of annoying. The worst thing about it is it seems to cut out on the license part of it, so I periodically have to re-enter my license key, which is fine, then it works. And the difference is basically just the quality of the video feed. And so you can adjust how many frames, what like low, mid, high quality, what the resolution is, that kind of stuff. And Zoom will throttle that to a certain extent. I think they only send 720p no matter what. Like that's the very best that Zoom will do. But anyway. So iVcam is great for that, and that's how I've been doing these, you know, single camera but able to switch through angle things. This third one that you'll see right there, that's how you spell it, would be normally off to my right-hand side. If you're not on a PC, or if you're not on a Windows PC, that is, if you're on Mac instead, there is a program that works for it as well. It's called Camo. And the way that Camo works is, I think, pretty much the same. The main difference is going to be it's an annual subscription fee, so it's $40. Go figure, slightly more expensive for Mac. But it's the only other program that I was able to find that works for Mac and also supports multiple instances. That is to say, you can have many cameras plugged in. So for instance, with iVcam, if I wanted to, and I'll do it real quick here, I can open up a third phone here or whatever, and I need to actually, and I'll show you this, if you go for this route, you end up having to install the driver a few times, which is way easier than it sounds. You just have to go into the actual file, and even we can do that. So I would go in here, I would look for, I think it's under my documents, it's going to be under maybe program files, let's see here, yeah, E2eSoft is the company name for iVcam. So if I go in here and I do driver install, that would be how I'd add a second camera or add a third camera so that they'd be able to connect in. So in any case, setting that aside, once I've done that, I also have to have them turned on. So you can see I have two down here. This little icon is representing that I have cameras by way of webcam or by way of phone. So if I want a third in there, I just go down, I right click on that icon, left click on iVcam again, and it should open up the third one. And it'll open up that. And then I go over to my phone here, and lo and behold, there we are. Hi, 2 times. So I'm going to close that. And if we look now back into zoom, again, let's see here, there we go. I can cycle through now these 3 different angles. And it works. Camos should be the same way, and generally I've found these to be an excellent solution. I keep them wired into my computer as much as I can, but they do work wirelessly. They just work over your whatever local wireless network. And that is pretty much it. Oh, one thing to note, if you do end up having multiple things logged in, it's really important to understand how spotlighting works, and pinning as well for that matter. And the biggest difference between them is going to be that pinning is what you see, spotlighting is what everybody sees. So just to show kind of how I do it as I do it, I'm going to start this video. So right now we're in gallery mode, then we can see everybody. If we were in speaker mode, we would just see the one. But if I wanted it to be, let's say there was a student logged in with a second thing also, if I wanted it just to be my 2 feeds, what I would do is I right click here, or let's see here, right click here, oh, maybe up here. Oh, you treacherous beast. It may be that because there's nobody else in here, I can't spotlight, which is too bad. Well, suffice it to say, you should be able to right-click. If you're the host, you'll see something about spotlighting. And then once you do that with the first one, when you go to the second one, if you right-click again, you should see something about Add Spotlight. And then that would basically set you up with 2 paneled people side by side, and that would be what they would see also. In any case, hopefully this is all helpful, and hopefully you have a lot of fun setting up different angles. Trust me, it's cool. It makes it a lot easier to just flow through a lesson if you're able to just click onto the next angle, click onto the next angle. Yeah, take care. Don't forget, if this is helpful, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.